the first reading, I had read some of it, and this is a part of a chapter 6, I think. Anyway, it's titled "The Lizard Man of Sonoma," and as I said, this is a part of a chapter. After an incredibly lengthy period of time, the photoradiation xRNA scanning, detection, and verification mechanism, xRNA scanned, detected, and verified Lola's tongue, thumb, hand, eye, foot, blood, and other body fluids and body parts for xRNA against every and other life form, both still living and long dead. The xRNA Lola provided finally registered as solely belonging to Lola, and not another reproduction region record-breaking reticular lizard man with devastating disco dance moves, a missing tailbone, and a regained, regrown, and re-intact virginity who was running to relocate to the Terran region of Space Sector Plan 9 inside the outside of outer space. He was positively, unquestionably, and indubitably verified as being Lola, and with the sigh of relief at being himself, and not a Lola from an alternate universe, reality, or negative zone region of Space Sector Plan 9, inside the outside of outer space, watched as the 4 locks of the Safety, Emergency, and Unnaturally Natural Disaster Kit and Caboodle Kit unlocked simultaneously and opened in this order. Lock number 4 opened, lock number 1 opened, lock number 4 locked, then unlocked, before lock number 3 unlocked, lock number 1 locked, then locked, lock number 1 locked, then lock number 2 opened, then they all locked, waited a micro-imaginary minute, then all opened at one, then all opened as one, excuse me. Lola hurriedly rummaged through the medical contents of the kit and Caboodle Kit and found an all-natural mist pump spray can of pressurized but slow-flowing electrical retardant foam and grease-cutting chemical concoction created and marketed by the overgrown and elderly Alterian Alzheimer-injected corporate slaves shackled permanently to their workstations and body function withdrawal suction machines on Orion 6, Planet 2. Popping the cap off and shaking the pressurized contents for faster expulsion, Lola pump sprayed the all-natural chemical concoction mist spray over his tongue, which had incidentally stopped hurting, sparking, and shocking the upper and lower palatal teeth inside that sleek and oversized head of his over a human hour ago. The all-natural mist pump spray can of pressurized but slow-flowing electrical retardant foam and grease-cutting chemical concoction had been designed to slowly subdue any and all mild and/or brutally painful static electric shocks to the tongue and only the tongue. Any other mild and/or brutally painful static electric shocks to other body parts required a different all-natural mist pump spray can of pressurized but slow-flowing electrical retardant foam and grease-cutting chemical concoction formula created by those unwilling, unaware, overgrown, and elderly Alterian Alzheimer-injected corporate slaves, shackled permanently to their workstations and body waste suction withdrawal machines on Orion 6, Planet 2, because they couldn't remember how to make the all-purpose, all-natural mist pump spray can of pressurized but slow-flowing electrical retardant foam and grease-cutting chemical concoction for the whole body. With the unneeded mouthful of, it's very redundant, but with the unneeded mouthful of all-natural electrical retardant foam and grease-cutting chemical concoction coating his upper and lower palate, tongue, and teeth, Lola's inhalation grew, labored, and lessened. He began to panic and, hyperventilating, began to rapidly read the instructions and warning labels printed on the back of the mist pump spray can. It read, serving size, as many pressurized mist pump sprays as necessary to get the out-of-control electrical output under control. In case of emergency, break glass. If in a state of panic, move to another state. Don't panic and take a deep breath. Release. Servings per container. I forgot. A lot of them. Foamy foam. 1,000 micro-imaginary gray graviton grams. Grease concoction. May contain some. Product contains up to 50% unremembered and unnecessary, who are you? When I was your age, is it break time already? That's it. Her name was Nancy. She said her name was Norma. Elizabeth, get your fat ass over here. Lola stopped reading and forgot what he was trying to do. Felt faint from lack of oxygen, then fell backwards hard onto the deck of the RRR-7 as the can of all-purpose, all-natural mist pump spray can of pressurized but slow-flowing electrical retardant foam and grease-cutting chemical concoction flew from his hand while the foam in his mouth erupted up and outwards from the shock of the back of his oversized and sleek carboninium steel flight helmet encased head hitting the floor. At the impact, a warning alert commenced and a panel slid open with the audible hiss of pressurized organic natural gas being released to release another swarm of reticular moisture bots. And that's most of the chapter. Yeah, I know it doesn't make sense. But if and when you get to read it in its entirety, it might. Thank you.
All right, up next, Robert Bayless.
Hey, Robert.
I just.
Here you go.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna go get him. I just can't.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. I do yoga 4 times a week.
Thank you.
This is titled, "A Beautiful Mexican Comes Sweeping in the Door." During my weekly session, I spoke with Layla, the Brazilian sex therapist I met on the salsa dance floor. I told her about my recent encounter with a gorgeous Mexican, Melanie Sonora, whom I first laid eyes on at the UT Salsa Conference earlier that year. Mel, tall and slender, had dancer's legs, lustrous black hair, and obsidian Aztecan eyes. Excuse me. She combined a beautiful creature with a giant presence and a body built for two. While sitting in the lobby of the ornate chandelier University of Texas ballroom, looking at the floor as I waited for the doors to open, I heard footsteps. Looking up, I saw black suede boots with 4-inch heels, and skin-tight black designer jeans, and a black Western silk blouse with red roses embroidered across the chest, then a beautiful face ringed by curled black hair. The coiled snake tattoo on her left shoulder, partially hidden by her blouse, should have warned me, but her looks had me too smitten to decode the hint needled into her body. I later regretted my inattention as her beauty masked her reality. We had a beautiful time at the salsa conference. She and I danced for the stars. I gave her my card. She called me the next day and we began a long-distance relationship as she lived in Dallas and I in Austin. Over the next several weeks, she was 50 years old, divorced, with 5 marriages hanging from her custom Gucci leather belt, 4 grown children and 10 grandkids. Dancing released her from the worries and strains of life. What she didn't tell me, at least not right away, was that she was recently released from a Dallas mental hospital, which she had entered following a mental breakdown precipitated by her 5th and unbroken string of violently abusive husbands. As I came to understand, she was half crazy and the other half was on medication.
Wow.
Mel, under the care of a psychiatrist, had her equilibrium maintained by the antipsychotic drug Topamax, also known as Dopamax. The manufacturer of Topamax recommends that you call your physician if you begin to kill small animals while consuming this drug. Yeah, that's true. Mel endured large mood swings from fear to rage to shame as she battled memories of physical, mental, and emotional abuse at the hands of her loved ones. With her story slowly unfolding before me, I became more and more engaged as her situation was cracked from my codependency issues. I felt an overwhelming urge to play savior to the rotting lepers in her mind. As our relationship endured, her mood swings became more and more problematic. She would go from happy and carefree to angry and repellent in a flash. Her moods were brittle, like a glass rod, bending under pressure only slightly before breaking with a loud snap. She would change from sunshine and butterflies to rain and roaches in the space of a comment. And when she was nice, she was very, very nice. I loved her when she was nice. I still remember the taste of her smile. I especially loved her when we were alone together on the dance floor. Layla listened to my rant with a non-committal gaze on her face. When I finished, I asked her, "Well, help me out here. What do you think?" She replied, "Most people have certain requirements for a good relationship. Generally things like sex, comfort, and companionship head the list. What you want is someone who loves you like you love you. But at the end of the day, you have to take a hard look at yourself and then come to Jesus. Some people are the exact opposite of good for you. You need to be able to recognize when you're in a dead-end, destructive relationship and get out, even if your self-indulgent, lizard-brained pleasure center is happy rolling in the puke generated by the misery inherent in such a relationship. Mel has been broken by her experiences, and she can only drag you down with her. Get out now. I said, sadly looking at her, shaking my head no, knowing she was right. Now, everyone has baggage, and what you have to do is weigh the baggage and see if it's worth the freight. Well, I checked, and Mel had a 30-mule team pulling her baggage train. She was crazy as tin rats in a burlap sack. Still, I knew in my heart that underneath all that craziness and suffering and pain, there was an 8-year-old child dying for love. As I left the session, I resolved to ignore Layla's advice and continue on in my relationship with Mel. I thought perhaps Layla was overreacting and everything would be fine. That next week, one of her exes contacted her, and she suffered a psychotic relapse that broke through the Dopamax. She drove me in the ditch, pulled her plates, and split. I still miss her, the way the memory of a painful infected tooth lingers after an expensive trip to the dentist. I have learned something, though. From now on, when I meet a beautiful woman, as soon as possible, I'm going to check her purse for drugs. Not only coke or crack or meth or barbs, but finding an antipsychotic like Dopamax will make me run like hell.
I love that that's the moral of your story. Check her purse. Okay. All right. See, Simone?
Hello. I didn't write a poem, so sorry to let you down with that.
Okay, I never did.
I usually memorize everything. I do stand-up, so me reading this from my phone is kind of weird, so anyway, work with me. Okay, so it's a short story, and it's called It's Your Birthday, Stop Playing With Your Vagina.
What?
It's gonna be okay, I promise. Okay, let's get our genitals ready and let's do this, okay. I didn't write Santa a letter explaining all I want for Christmas is to become a homewrecker. That's just how the cards fell. And in my case, I wasn't playing with a full deck. I grew up in a house that welcomed paper-printed dirty jokes and poker games with naked lady playing cards as equally as it did clean linens and coupons. I was unaware that dirty jokes consisted of loose genitals and endless good times. Had I known what all the fuss was about, I may not have felt guilty about my inability to stop humping the corner of my bed. My father was no pedophile and my mother was no Aphrodite. Sex ed and his sidekick Jesus took a back seat to Red Fox, Richard Pryor, Three's Company of John Wayne, respectfully. Understandably, I followed Darlene's suit when she asked Roseanne what a period was. 3 nights later, I found myself sitting at our dimly lit dining room table at my mother's request. The bang of a stale encyclopedia on the hardwood didn't wake my snoring father, and my mother lit a new Doral full flavor after she pointed to a poorly illustrated badge in too many Times New Roman paragraphs. Read here, she pointed, puffing and puffing on her cigarette, hoping I would seize at any moment just to save her the trouble of answering any "where does the dick go?" questions. I hated to read just as much as I hated to brush my teeth, so I faked this tutoring session in the same fashion I had set my toothbrush down on the counter and ran water down the bathroom sink while instead I examined my pointy new nipples and pubic sprouts twice a day. My mother felt she had done her duty with the late night public service announcement, and I was still clueless about the moist duties of my genitalia. I still assumed I was with child, and when the time was right, I was certain a baby would excavate itself out of my body and splash into the toilet following a spicy Mexican dinner and significant pushing. Every stomach virus pushed me into psychological turmoil. My mother would dig for outdated Pepto in the kitchen as I brainstormed how to discard a fetus, in between violent stomach spasms and fecal examinations behind the locked bathroom door. Fortunately, I never had to bury a baby under my parents' floorboards, and I learned how to deal with psychological inadequacies with my own form of genital therapy. I didn't feel guilty about bumping, grinding, and erotically smearing my badge over all 4 posts of my Holly Hobby canopy bed as Paula Abdul sang "He's a cold-hearted snake" in the background, but I did, however, feel a bit of shame when my mother would mumble, "I'm going to bed," through the 3-inch crack of my bedroom door, and I would feverishly wedge my hands into my rumbling undercarriage. My late night rituals trumped full house and family matters, and my jealousy over a friend's recent molestation brewed. She didn't appreciate my detailed questions, and I sifted through my list of cousins as she wiped tears from her cheeks and leaked snot all over a pretty red skirt. I didn't regularly wear skirts, but I figured this habit would be a perfect start, and my foot would be in the door at the next family reunion. And just as abrupt as the hand that made it up Blondie's skirt, the unsavory news made its way to the school bus that family members, or anyone else for that matter, who tampered with your goods was at the root of all that was sacrilegious. Her cousin was in jail, and she endured the hot rides in the school bus wearing faded Guess jeans. She snarled at me from the back of the bus as I sat defeated in my ruffled red skirt. I didn't completely understand why the diddling of my bean was so ill-advised. If anything, I had considered it friendly fire until Blondie wrote home about her newfound shame, which revolved around her suicidal mother and her sugar-snapped bean. Legally, I was the only soldier who could do any diddling, and with everything I was hearing about genitals and law enforcement, I figured I had best revert back to full house. Uncle Jesse was quite the charmer, but he didn't know where I lived or anything about my history of skirt wearing. With every school year that passed, I counseled with my stuffed animals on the travesty. Rainbow Bright had the gay idea to write Santa a detailed request to break my addiction, and we all agreed the Tooth Fairy didn't grant wishes that we were aware of. I was left with the stark realization that my only true opportunity to give my crotch a break from the limelight was to utilize the mother of all wishes, the birthday wish. The birthday wish was sacred, everyone knew that, and if I wanted to rid myself of the stains and scars of my late night fondling, I had to give up wanting a puppy and ask Happy Birthday Cake himself for a genital reset button. And with each birthday, I wished my wishes away and hoped for the throbbing in my why to suddenly cease to exist. And I would reciprocate the birthday favor and stop wearing skirts to family gatherings and start watching John Wayne and football until I was sound asleep with hands tucked neatly by my ears. But anybody who's anybody knows that hormones and blood flow can't be avoided. Hair grows, sweat drips, and the word dick gets inscribed into the side of desks. Bras are unhooked and tampons create the need for purses and private stalls. Stuffed animals are replaced with love letters and diaries. Parents lose their punch and cars are found better to be parked than driven. Most things are inevitable when it comes to time, and you learn the sad truth that Santa never really cared about you. You should now put your faith in God. Birthdays are about getting older and regretful, and those wishes you depended on, well, they aren't yours for the taking. So much for birthday cake.